Greetings, everyone. This is Sister Crystal here with Classic Hip Hop Storage Box, back with another episode. And today I would like to talk to you about the one, the only, the legendary Shock G. As you may already know, Shock G, whose real name is Gregory Edward Jacobs, was found unresponsive in a hotel room in Tampa, Florida on April 22nd, 2021. At the time, it was reported that there were no signs of trauma and that an autopsy would be performed. As of June 10th, 2021, according to the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner in Florida, Digital Underground's Shock G died of an accidental drug overdose. The hip hop icon passed away in April 2021 at age 57 from an accidental overdose of fentanyl, ethanol, which is alcohol, and methamphetamine, said a rep for the medical examiner's office. An intimate funeral service for the late rapper, producer, musician, and actor Shock G was held on Saturday, May 1st, 2021, at the Allen Temple AME Church in Tampa, Florida. The 3.5 hour long service was streamed live on the church's website and on their Facebook page. Now, Shock G has always been very private when it came to his personal life. So, as a fan and as a member of the general public, very little is known about Shock G outside of his career, such as did Shock G ever get married? Did Shock G have any children? Anything like that? I don't know. And so, with that stated, hearing these autopsy results is very surprising because I never heard anything about Shock G having any type of struggles like that. I've always only heard good things. I'm going to be quite transparent and frank here. It's not unusual to hear a lot of celebrities having struggles with drugs and everything. That's almost like the norm. But when it came to Shock G, I never heard anything about him having any struggles like that. But again, he was very private. And so, with that stated, it's not a surprise that a lot of people did not know that Shock G is also the man who helped launch the career of Tupac Shakur. A lot of people are very familiar with Tupac Shakur. But if it wasn't for Shock G, who helped Tupac get his big break early on, we probably wouldn't have heard of Tupac Shakur as soon as we did. Back in 2011, on what would have been Tupac Shakur's 40th birthday, Shock G did an interview with Vibe magazine in which he shared some of his fondest memories of Tupac and also cleared up some misconceptions. Shock G was quoted as saying, quote, Tommy Boy wanted another album right after the tour, but I told them I couldn't have an album out that fast. We wasn't Public Enemy. We didn't have a bomb squad in the studio making our beats. We made all our own stuff. He didn't say that. He said another word, but I have to be clean here. So we had to start on it when we got home. Tommy Boy heard me freaking out, so they said, okay, just put out an EP to hold people over. It was their idea to include same song on the EP as well as a couple of remixes. That's why the EP did not have a concept, which to me was a sin. Same song was originally featured in this Dan Aykroyd movie called Nothing But Trouble. This was also Tupac's introduction to the public. But there's one misconception that I want to clear up. Pac was never a digital underground dancer. He was our roadie. And out of all the roadies we ever had, he was the best. You never lost anything on his watch. The only thing you could say about Pac was how wild he was. It was later that he started performing on stage with us. Pac would probably get us arrested in every other city because he would pop S at the police real quick, and Shock G starts laughing. So Shock G and crew found out real quick that they had a freedom fighter on their hands because Tupac grew up as a child of the Black Panther Party movement. Shock G continued, sometimes he would get us in unnecessary fights. He would never back down, even if he were in the wrong. But if they were effing with us and we were innocent, which happened most of the time, we would support Tupac 100%. So the they Shock G was referring to are the police. But a lot of times he was just wrong. And Shock G laughs. Our first meeting with Tupac was set up through Aunt Ron. He wanted me to be the ears for him and tell him whether or not he should sign Pac. From there, Tupac became our label mate. He had presence when he rhymed. But Pac began to become restless. So Antron called me in a panic and asked if we could take him on tour with us because he had a feeling that he was losing him. He just got offered a position with the Black Liberation Army at this college in Atlanta. So they're saying that Shock G is saying that Tupac was just offered a position with the Black Liberation Army at the college. And so Antron was afraid if they don't move fast that they was going to lose Tupac. So that was probably a good decision to make to just move on it. Well, not probably. That was definitely a great decision to make because look at how big Tupac became. And Shock G continues. Pac was ready to take that job and say F it because the music was taking too long. So Pac took Money B's brother's place on our tour with Public Enemy and Big Daddy Kane. He did some dancing on stage, but he was mainly our roadie. At first, I didn't want to disrespect him because I knew Pac was a serious MC. I didn't want to ask him to dance or be our roadie. I thought it was beneath him. But Tupac calls me back and he's like, hell yeah, N word. N word with an A. I'll do that. He never acted like he was a member of Digital Underground. We all felt like Digital Underground was a humorous band and Pac's message was very serious. But we had already been around the world with Pac on tour and he was ripping up the after parties when we passed the mic around. So we asked him to be on same song. Even my mother saw that there was something special inside Pac. She walked over to me during the same song video shoot and asked, Gregory, who is that right there? She hadn't even heard of Pac yet. And I'm like, oh, that's Tupac. And she said, watch him. He has that quality. I don't know what he sounds like, but he looks like he's a star. And that is awesome that Shock G's mother, even though she did not know who Tupac was, she even saw that Tupac was a budding star. So that is awesome. And again, that was taken from an interview Shock G did with Vibe magazine back in 2011, reflecting on the legacy of Tupac Shakur. So touring with Digital Underground led to Tupac's guest verse on same song, which was included on Digital Underground's 1991 EP entitled This Is an EP Release. From there, Tupac gained a solo deal and released his debut album, Tupacalypse Now, in November 1991, in which Shock G provided some production. Shock G also gave background vocals on Tupac's single entitled Trapped. Shock G and Tupac would collaborate yet again for one of Tupac's biggest hit singles, I Get Around, in 1993. And that video looked like it was a whole lot of fun shooting the video and everything. The concept behind it was just absolutely phenomenal. That was just a fun video to watch, and I can imagine that it was even more fun shooting it. That would be nice to be able to get some people that are probably still around today that may have been on that video shoot for I Get Around, and just to see like the background, the behind the scenes shooting of that video. I imagine it might have been even crazier than what we saw on the video. So yes, that's one of my favorite songs from Tupac, and Shock G actually helped do the production on that, and he also gave some vocals on there. And I believe Money B also was a guest on that song too. So yeah, that song is a lot of fun. Also, at the very beginning of the song I Get Around, Tupac says something to the effect of still down with the underground when I come around. So basically, he was saying no matter what he was doing, things were still good between him and Digital Underground. And I think that was important for him to note that because during this time, this was 1993, so we already know he had already did like the Juice soundtrack, or not the soundtrack, but he actually starred in Juice. And a lot of things seemed to take off for Tupac right after Shock G gave him his big break in 1990 or 91 with Same Song. And that was great that he was able to help Tupac get his big break. And then right after that, things took off. But sometimes that's how it happens in the music business. Things don't take off right away, and you need people like a Shock G or someone else there that can see your not just potential, but what you already have, and help you nurture that until you really get your big break. So that was also a great thing too. Shock G and Tupac collaborated again on the hit single So Many Tears in 1995, which was the second single from Tupac's third studio album entitled Me Against the World. Shock G is listed as the piano man in the credits of the song. And Shock G plays the keyboards on the So Many Tears song. That is also another great song, a great hit. So the two main songs that Shock G collaborated, which he collaborated on more than just two songs, but two of Tupac's biggest hits, I Get Around and So Many Tears, were both collaborations between Tupac and Shock G. So that is awesome what they were able to come up with together when they were able to get together and make some great music. This also speaks to Shock G's humbleness as a man. See, Tupac had a ton of movies that he was shooting during this time from the early 1990s through the mid 1990s. He had Juice in 1992, then he had Poetic Justice and Above the Rim, and all of these movies did quite well. They did quite well. Never did I hear Shock G say, "Oh, well, I gave Tupac his big break. I'm the one that gave Tupac his major start in the music business." I never heard Shock G say anything like that, which is fine if he did because it's true. It's true. It's okay to pat yourself on the back sometimes when you've done something great, but Shock G didn't do that. This is probably why, till this day, Shock G, and my condolences goes to the family, friends, and fans of Shock G. I am a fan of Shock G. Till this day, I'm quite sure there are a ton of people out there that did not know that Shock G had a major role in helping Tupac get his big break in the music business. But, that just goes to show how he was a true friend of Tupac. I see Tupac's and Shock G's relationship like a almost like an older brother, like admiring the success of the younger brother, and not in a way of like any envy or anything like that, like, oh man, Tupac is doing well for himself. Shock G was just proud to see how far Tupac had come. Now, I'm not putting any words in anybody's mouth, but that's just the way I see it. I did know that Shock G helped Tupac get his big break because I am a fan of both of them. But for people who are, and we have to be real here, there's a whole new generation that's been born since Tupac passed away, or Tupac was unfortunately, you know, I'll say passed away for the purposes of the video back in 1996. And so that's been nearly 25 years ago. There's a whole new generation that's grown up. They're old enough, they have children now. And the parents, like my age, we're like grandparents. And so to know that Shock G was a big part of helping someone as major as Tupac. Now, whether people like Tupac or not, you can't deny that he was a major or is a major influence on music, not just hip hop, but music in general. And you would ask people, and Tupac comes up in people's, at least in their top 10 favorite rappers, most of the time. Tupac is up there. But a lot of people may not have ever heard of Shock G, but Shock G is the man that helped Tupac get his big start. So I am giving this tribute today for Shock G and thanking him for helping Tupac get his music out to the world. Because as I said earlier, Tupac almost got hired at the local college, you know, and who would have known what direction Tupac's life would have went? But there's no such thing as coincidences, and things, went the way they went. And I just want to say, you both are missed, Tupac and Shock G. Again, thank you so much to the memory of Shock G. Thank you so much for being a great friend to Tupac and seeing in him what, a lot of people may or may not have seen, and being there when he needed somebody, he needed to get seen right when he did. So thank you. But what do you all think? So this is Sister Crystal with Classic Hip Hop Storage Box. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, take care.